He's been in the hit Fringe musical, The Key of E. Before the guest comes on, here's a little bit of the musical. Just can't wait for the game to end. Check it out right now.
And mighty droves to blow the earth away. Yeah, I was there when the end of days descended on your town. I watched it from a distance and wrote everything down. I had a front row ticket when the skies began to fall. I saw the children screaming like JT was in the mall. Then a giant metal planet drifted just past the Earth's face, close enough to rip Australia out into space. I saw a megapod of dolphins turn the ocean into foam as the scientists stared in horror from the observation dome. I saw Cthulhu break the surface with his tentacles ablaze, and the flesh dropped like a waterfall from every Nazi face. There were lasers shooting around in the air, and babies bursting into flames everywhere. I saw the kings of ancient nations reach the grave to claim the crown, but no one really panicked till the internet went down. Yeah, I should go, but I can't let it go. Wanna watch the motherfucker explode. Then Jesus dropped a cluster bomb and snatched up all the chicks. Then Zeus came down with a lightning bolt and he shot us all in the dick. Corpses rained from the skies above and clogged up every creek. 1,600 minotaurs just tearing up the street. An earthquake took out Canada, but no one seemed to mind. And lions and giraffes became genetically entwined. Begging to the skies, they screamed, enough is enough. Everyone expected zombies, but they never showed up. Yeah, I should go, but I can't let it go. Wanna watch the motherfucker explode. No, I just can't wait for the game to end. No, I just can't wait for the game to end. No, I just can't wait for the game to end, so we can start it again. I challenge you good people, take the blindfold off your face and fight to see the beauty in this godforsaken place. Though some of you may glorify the ending of the days and calculate with great detail your undeserved malaise, well, I bet you couldn't dream of even one deserving strike to justify the ending of the whole of human life. And I read it every day upon your precious glowing screens. You bastards glorifying these apocalyptic dreams. So fine, let's give it a go. Let's watch you motherfuckers explode. No, I just can't wait for the game to end. No, I just can't wait for the game to end. No, I just can't wait for the game to end, so we can start it. No, I just can't wait for the game to end. No, I just can't wait for the game to end. No, I just can't wait for the game to end, so we can start it again.
For those who don't know anything about Key of E, give a nice little rundown. Who did you play, and what did you sing, and what's it about?
Basically, the show was the brainchild of Corey Valence and Andy Matchett, which is a local musician in Orlando. And basically, it was a post-apocalyptic rock musical, which sounds very cliche, but also it's pretty original. It was basically about a guy that was a complete alcoholic, was a pretty horrible person, which was not the character I played, was just an awful person in general. And the show opens up where he's wanting the world to end, and he has this long, like, monologue about, ranting about all the shitty things that are in the world. By the time that scene ends, there's a big wave that comes over and just washes away all of Florida, and he ends up on a desert island. And he has all these different people coming up to talk to him. But we tell you earlier in the show, because we have a narrator, that basically tells you all these people don't exist. They're all in his head, but he has no idea that they're not in his head. So we kind of flip that on its, on its ear. Instead of going the big twist ending, that they're not real, we tell the audience like immediately that they're not real. And I played his very confident side, the side that he wishes he was. I had longer hair and like a goatee and mustache and everything, and I played his cool like rock star kind of side. And another girl, Amanda Warren, she played his quirky, fun side, kind of like a tank girl type of character. And it was basically very autobiographical on my friend Corey. So all these characters that he wrote are people that he could completely relate to for the most part. So
what's amazing about this show is that this show, most fringe shows, and you would probably agree to this, most fringe shows are your run-of-the-mill one-man show where they're sitting there just telling horrible jokes or just babbling for a while. What's amazing about this show is it had the longevity beyond any other fringe show. So much, in fact, that it ended up in New York City.
Yes. We went to New York, and we also did a production of it at the venue in August. And, it was very well received in Orlando. In New York, it wasn't that it wasn't well received, but you're just a little fish in a huge-ass pond out there. So in New York, it was different. Didn't have huge crowds, but everyone that reviewed us really liked the show. And it was funny, too, because Andy, the guy that did the music, he was going to do the music for Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson, because they were doing that show at Fringe this year. And he was like, oh, I hate that show. But in that review, they're like, music reminiscent of Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson. And he's like, come on. So, but the music in the show is extremely catchy and extremely simple. But, most of the time, something that's catchy and simple is almost always fantastic, But the other question you were asking, my character's name was Chester, which is kind of funny. A good friend of mine, Ryan, used to call me Chester all the time, so I thought that was kind of interesting. But what else did you ask? Oh, the songs I sang. There was probably about 7 or 8 songs in the show. One was called Better Off Alone, which was like a big, cheesy exploitation of a Broadway song, where the chorus was nothing but a bunch of bops, like bop, 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 because it was very like just... Our show was a complete anti-musical. That's the best way to describe it. And then the other one I sang was called All in the Brain, which was all of the personalities arguing about whether he needs to know that we're not real, or I'm completely against it, and there's other people that are for it. And the show gets kind of deep, man. We're working on a full length, hopefully by next year. We just took a break because, it was Key of E for an entire year, and a lot of us just got burned out on it, just because of the fact that it was just day in and day out. A lot of them got really burned out because a lot of the guys in the show didn't really do any other plays. They were just sitting there, just concentrated on this all the time. So, but if anything, it brought me back into wanting to be an actor again. So, which is a good thing. And there's been a lot of interesting things that have happened in the last year and a half that just funny the way life works.
What's awesome is that the Corey, who spearheaded,
Corey,
who did Key of E,
yeah,
he also was in True West with you, which, as you pointed out to me, True West is one of those fantastic plays that most recently was John C. Reilly, and did you say who else was in there?
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Philip Seymour Hoffman, and what's
2001.
This play was not in Orlando for the longest time, and you guys were the first ones to bring it to Orlando. Is that correct?
Yeah, it hasn't been done in like 13 years or something.
That's pretty incredible. That's pretty incredible. So, what's amazing is I've known Chaz for quite a while, and he has just evolved as a entertainer. He's just gone from just small and just exploded. Yes, when most people say that you should go off to New York, well, Key of E has done that. Now, what is the future for Key of E Cast and yourself as well?
Key of E-Cast future right now, like I said, is I think they want to write a full length, and I'll look at it and see what's going on because I don't know. I mean, I mean, you've known me for a while. It's kind of like one of those things that's like, it's over, it's over. You know what I mean? Like, if it comes to a full length, I might look into it definitely. But I don't know, man. It's really funny because I haven't talked to you in a while because life just happens. But I got to play a lot of roles that I never personally thought I would ever play in my life. Like, I got to be in Assassins, the show that I've liked and hated for the longest time. Hated in a good way because it's what the show should make you feel. I got to do that show, and I got to do Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, which is a part in that show I don't even personally fit body type-wise, but I got great reviews for it. So he's supposed to be blonde hair, blue eyes, buff, but they said it was a very interesting casting choice, and I pulled it off. And then I got to play a porn star in a breakthrough theater show, which was just fun. Which breakthrough such a small theater, it's like a little black box. It's only like 45 seats. And that was just cool. That was more. I did that to challenge myself. A, I had to get in my underwear, and B, it was only 3 shows, and our rehearsal schedule was very sparse, and I was the lead, and I'm like, I can do this. So that was a nice, silly, fun show. Fun facts about that show is it was one of the quickest shows ever on Broadway. It opened for 7 performances and closed. Yeah, it had Cheyenne Jackson in it, Henry Winkler, Alicia Silverstone, and it was right around the time of Hurricane Sandy.
That's so weird. How long did your performance go on for?
3 shows, so we almost... No, 4 shows. So we were close to beating their record, but we only did 1 week.
It seems like I thought that Assassins was the shortest run Broadway show. I guess this one...
No, Assassins was pretty short the first time around, but the revival, of course, there's a lot more performances that popped up with the revival. And then it was funny, I went from that right into True West, so, it's just, in True West, it's great because we get to do it again in August 15th, 16th, 17th at the Bay Street Theater in Eustis, because the creative director, Joel Warren, was in Key of E with us and is a friend of mine, and he's the artistic director there. And he was like, I want you guys to do the show, because he was the one that originally put it in Corey and I's ear to even read the show. And oh man, it's one of those shows. Like I told you, man, we'll figure it out. You should definitely come see it when it's in Bay Street.
I want to, because it's interesting, because to see that you're playing the writer character.
I'm playing the character that is nothing like me in any shape or form. He's very meek, very weak, very doesn't really say what's on his mind. Gets bullied around by his brother. It was just really a very difficult role to embrace because I've played all of these very strong characters recently, and to play this so weak of a character, that just, he hasn't seen his brother in 5 years, and they've been estranged for the longest time, and he is afraid of him. And to be afraid of Corey was difficult for me, but he really put himself into that role, man. He just kind of let himself go, and he just looked like shit. And he was pretty friggin' scary. I mean, he drank about 4 beers throughout the show because he wanted real beer on his breath. So when he gets in my face, and it's like, oh god, dude, back up. Where I sit there and just drink Perrier most of the show. Till the part in the show, of course, where I get drunk. Because the great part about that show is you have a good brother and a bad brother, but are they really that much different? By the middle of the show, by the end, they're pretty much the same person.
What I like about the title True West is kind of like talking about the True West of, which is referring to the United States. That's what they were saying, and so in a lot of ways, you look at that and you've got these 2 characters. One character, which is the writer, who is about trying to excel, and he's writing the screenplay about automobiles, which everything about that seems extremely symbolic. And so you look at those 2 characters, you can almost think, would you say that they're almost one person?
Well, yeah, they pretty much are one person. He's actually not even writing anything about automobiles. He's just writing a shitty romantic story.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the time, it's like 1978 is when the show came out, and it was, dude, our director was incredible. Kevin Becker, he's a pretty big name over in Orlando. Mm-hmm. He had us do so much table work, which was just fantastic. And he's like, dude, I want you to look at the last 6 years of someone who won the Pulitzer Prize for drama. And look at the last 6 years of someone who won Best Original Screenplay around that time. And look what won. And it's really staggering to see because a lot of it was nothing to do with love. You had like Kramer versus Kramer. You know, you had all of these movies, like these movies and plays that were just dark, man. Like there was no love, and I think it was interesting that Sam Shepard wanted to do that. And the funny part is too, my character Austin is Sam Shepard.
Ah, okay.
There's a documentary called Shepard in Dark, and it's about his best friend Johnny Dark. And Sam Shepard, a lot of the stories that they talk about in that show are real stories about him. Like about his alcoholic father and how his father, pretty much anything, if anyone's read that show, anything that he pretty much talks about his father is fact. Anything that Austin talks about his father is what really happened with Sam Shepard's father.
So, for as long as I've known you, you've always been interested in the darker theater. So, modern, like Broadway, seems to be kind of going a little bit almost too poppy. Like Aladdin is coming out. You also have some of the Disney. You can say the tourist musicals. Would you say that the golden age of musicals are kind of behind us?
No, I wouldn't think that. I mean, I went to New York and I saw a show that I made everyone go see because I was like, it's going to win Best Tony for Best Musical. How do you know that? I'm like, I just know, and it won Best Tony. I mean, it won Best Musical. It was A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder, and it was awesome. But it was like a golden age, also where it was really dark, but very poppy. Not poppy, but more of a traditional musical. Honestly, it's about a guy that finds out that he is heir to royalty, but the only problem is he has 8 people in his way, and he has to kill all 8 of them. But the guy that plays all the different characters, all the different members of the family, is all played by the same actor of that family. So he plays 8 different characters in the same family.
Wow.
It was incredible. I mean, Neil Patrick Harris won for Best Actor, but, I mean, this guy was honestly Best Actor by far. Jefferson Mays, I mean, I would have loved to have seen Hedwig, but, I mean, you're a Hedwig fan. You like the original Hedwig with John Cameron Mitchell, right?
Well, I think that this new Hedwig is a little bit too big.
I think it's too big, and I don't know, man. I just think John Cameron Mitchell just embodied Hedwig.
It was, I've heard so many people.
Like, Neil Patrick Harris is good, but it just doesn't give me, like, that rock, let yourself go that John Cameron Mitchell did.
So many people are saying that it's way too show-tuney.
Well, it's on Broadway.
Well, yeah. Instead of being, like you said, instead of being like a rock show, and Neil Patrick Harris is kind of like just kind of making it more glammy. And I think that John Cameron Mitchell, that kind of goes back to the other thing where I'm saying it's like, would you almost say that like those days of like Rent and like maybe even the original Hedwig, would you say that those edgy punk rock kind of shows are behind us, or do you think that with Key of E and things like that, do you think that there is a potential for a new edgy Broadway coming around?
Well, that's what we were trying to do with Key of E, is do something that was just different, you know, and I'm curious to see what happens with it. I mean, if you want to see a lot of the experimental Broadway, which is going to be the new stuff, you really want to go off Broadway to see it. There was a great show that our producer took us to see called Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812, and it was about part 1 of part 5 of War and Peace. So it was like a little baby part of War and Peace, and that's what the entire show was about. And it was an electro-pop musical, which you should definitely check out. It's on Spotify. It's called Natasha Pierre and the Comet of 1812. And the music is fantastic. And he's like, I want to do it in Orlando. And I'm like, nobody's going to go see it. I don't know, man. That's the big problem, I guess, with Orlando is...
Well, it's that your show... It made a massive impact, didn't it?
I mean, yeah. I mean, we definitely had a following in Orlando for the show. Absolutely. I mean, a lot of people saw it. You know, it's Yeah, I mean, I guess it had a pretty big impact. I mean, we had cast changes, and there's only about three of us who are even still the original cast, which is kind of
What?
fun. Yeah, we had the guy that
Wow.
plays like the douchebag character, Bryce. We've cast him three different times. We've cast the girl that plays Frankie twice, which is my sidekick. Corey's been the same since day one. I've been the same since day one. Andy's been the
He's
same.
the writer.
Maurice has been the same since day one. And then there's some other in the ensemble that have been since day one, but for the principal characters, yeah, it's only like three of us, four of us. So, which is kind of funny for something that's just even being workshopped.
Wow. That's
But I
great.
don't know, man. The more I go through stuff, I just like acting. I don't want to be musical theater. I don't.
Musical theater was difficult.
There's a lot of work, man. There's a lot of work involved. I'm not a dancer, and you know, there's sometimes I'm 31 years old, almost 30, and there's times in your life you embrace it and you go, I'm not a dancer, and I won't be a dancer. And there's some dreams you just have to let go. And dancing and singing on Broadway, or even singing and dancing in Orlando, I don't think it's gonna happen. That's why when I did Assassins, it's a perfect show. I could just sing. I don't have to dance. I don't have to dance at all. I just had to be the balladeer and tell the story and be Lee Harvey Oswald at the end. Great.
I remember that time when you did the Grinch audition, and you had to do the dancing in that, and you're just like, screw this.
Well, the good news about that this year, I got called back and I made it to the singing, fine. Cold reading, fine. Then cut. So I didn't have to dance this year.
So how much dancing exactly was involved in the Key of E?
Well, for me, too much. But I mean, it's stuff. If people even like could remotely dance, it was stupid easy stuff. But I finally got it, but I couldn't get my mind around it. I mean, they're supposed to be really cheesy, flashy, like Broadway, like silly, like jazz hands and just really silly stuff. And I just can't put my mind around it. I just look awkward. I don't care.
Will we ever see a documentary like the behind the
Oh
scenes?
yeah, did I tell you about that?
No.
So our friend Walter Lowe, good friend of mine now. I mean, I met him last year at the very beginning of when we started Key of E. This is actually really cool. The very beginning inception of the show, from like before anyone was even cast. This guy Walter Lowe has documented the entire thing all the way to New York.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's
That's
supposed to be out soon. I mean, he's like, I got so much footage, and he goes, you guys have changed so much, like from the span of like the beginning of the show all the way to the end. Like it's very staggering to look at.
It was like a machine. You went in there,
Yeah.
and it like completely processed you, and then you came out like on the other side of Key of E.
But he got all of us, upset and pissed off and saying bad shit, and then I love everyone. It's really. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm kind of excited to see it. I think though that he's a really good filmmaker. I mean, that's what he does for a living. Like he has a company called Black Burst Entertainment, and he wants to try to sell it to Netflix after that because I think that the show's really cool.
What if
Actual documentary.
it could be packaged as a 2-disc DVD, Key of E and the documentary?
Brandon Wayne wanted to make a movie.
Yeah. How's that?
Key of E into a movie, and I think everything stopped because it just started snowballing when we went to New York, and when that happened, we're like, what? Okay, we're going to New York? Jesus. And we were there for like 3 weeks.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
Full expense paid. I mean, I had to pay for my food, but that was it.
So what ended up happening? Like, you said that it wasn't a phenomenal response out in New York, but what was the response like anyway?
Well, I mean, the response in New York was the people that came to see it really enjoyed it. They liked the jokes. They liked that it was an anti-musical. The people that reviewed it, same. They liked it. But you got to remember, too, man, you're in New York City. You're just a blip. There's so much going on in that city. I mean, when we went to see Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder, there was a guy up there from Playbill.com, and Nick gave him his card. Nick Banowich, which was a producer for the show, gave him his card and said, "Come see Key, I'll comp you in." And we really thought he was going to go see it and we'd get coverage, but he didn't go. it's really difficult too if you think about it to even start building a buzz in New York City.
Yeah.
I mean, it's real difficult. I mean, the really cool part about our show is we have this really awesome monster at the end of it. That's the id of the Ethan character, which is like all his bad shit coming out. I wish we could have just walked around New York as a monster, like the village and everything. But they're like, no, no, no. I mean, I had fantastic ideas that I personally wanted to do for the marketing. I wanted like the character of Ethan and Josie, or Jocelyn, which was his girlfriend, to like get in like this really bad like verbal argument in a bar, and the people are like, whoa, you guys need to cut it out, and then they give him a flyer for Key of E. I thought that there was really cool like weird guerrilla marketing that you could possibly do for it. And nobody did. They just put posters up, and it's like, cool, man. Like the poster looks great, but that's not enough in New York City. People see all kinds of weird stuff all the time. But I felt good with it. I mean, the show was different enough, and unless you were from New York, you weren't going to win that festival, which is cool. I mean, that's the way it pretty much is. It's hard to just come from a different city and win the festival, but I felt good with it.
Well, the best thing is, I guess you could confidently say the Key of E, and you guys were part of this. You made something in Fringe that wasn't just a random one-man show.
No, and it's funny too because Corey's writing, and you'll love this. Corey's writing a play for Fringe that he's been working on for 5 or 6 years, and I've only known Corey officially for like the last year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about the rise of the grindhouse film genre in New York City in the late 70s, early 80s.
Wow.
And I'll be playing the main character that's think about, trying to think how I can mix it. It's going to be like Ed Wood mixed with, can't think of another movie, but more or less a guy that's so passionate about grindhouse, films, and he knows everything about them and is like a walking encyclopedia, has the passion like Ed Wood does, and, he's basically putting a film together, and we want to make this really awesome trailer with all like the top actors in Orlando for like this big finish thing at the end. It's called Grindhouse a Go-Go.
So is this a little? Can you divulge a little bit more info, or is this still on the?
Well, we have like 10 to 15 pages written right now, and it's a Fringe show, so it's only gonna be about an hour.
That's awesome.
But I feel like it's gonna be pretty big at Fringe, honestly, just because it's so different.
The next follow-up.
Yeah, it'll be next May, and yeah, we'll have to. He said he's working on it, so I trust him at this point, and he's we became very good collaborators together. There's some people that you work with that you just have stupid chemistry with.
Yeah.
That it's like you're not even. Our friends Christy Miga and Evan Miga. You probably know them. They're the ones that were behind Dog Powered Robot.
Yeah, yeah.
So those are two really good friends of mine right now, and which they did all the effects for Key of E. So everything's a small world.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, like I said, you guys made a massive impact in Orlando.
Yeah. And they did. They came to see True West, and Christy's like, I hate dramas with a passion. She's like, but I want to come see the show because I support you guys. And she wrote us like the nicest review ever, just on Facebook. She was like, all right, that was amazing. She's like, I wanted it to be longer. The acting was superb. I wish I could give out awards for it. That there wasn't like acting involved. Like it was so real that they had like stupid chemistry with one another. And that's the highest praise you can get, man, to say you're not acting.
That's really cool.
So, I mean, she just gave like the best review ever. So
I saw a little bit of the Gary Sinise and John Malkovich version.
Yeah, it's different. It's different, but you got to remember, like, the guy that did our fight choreography, Bill Warner, he was like, they didn't even have a union yet for stage combat, so there wasn't really the stage combat that they could only do in that show was very sparse.
Oh, really?
If you watched did you watch the last fight with like the telephone wire and everything?
I didn't get that far yet.
And the very end of the show, Austin pretty much almost kills Lee.
Wow.
And our fight was brutal. I mean, we had breakaway bottles. I broke a bottle over his head. I bashed his face into a counter, hit him with a golf club, strangled him with an extension cable, bashed his face on another table. I mean, it was brutal, man. I mean, real brutal. And the audience was like, "Oh!" It was so brutal that a lot of people thought it was real because of the way Corey, how well he sold it. They thought something was going wrong, and I was really choking him.
Wow.
Yeah. Like I said, you'll have to see the show when it comes back around.
Yeah, I really want to see this.
We do 3 more, or 4 more. I'm sorry. I'm stupid excited for it because we didn't want to retire it yet. And you know, the only downside of this theater that we're doing it in is it's big. It's really big.
And it's hard to fill it.
Yeah, it's like, well, no, not even hard to fill it. It's just a different type of show for a theater that big. Like, we did it at the Mandel at Shakes, and it holds about 94 people. So it's very intimate, and it's a, it's a thrust stage, so it's basically the stage is on the ground. So it was very intimate, but it'll still be fun. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I have to grow my mustache back, my bandit stash.
That's awesome. Well, about to sign out, but before I do, you also have Chaz and the Alternatives. When's the next Chaz and the Alternative show?
So, funny you mentioned that. Like, Chaz and the Alternative was just a silly thing that I put together because I'm obsessed with the 90s. And our last show was in April, and we've kind of taken a hiatus. But, the good news about it is we always get so many people at our shows, man. And it's fantastic, and it's cool that people just, really embrace, a silly 90s cover band, that there's actually other 90s cover bands springing up in Orlando now.
So maybe there'll be another? Maybe?
Well, there probably will. We were thinking about doing a 2000s cover band, for Vagrant and, all, the old, the indie rock, Hot Rod Circuit, Dashboard Confessional, and Brand New, and doing a cover show like that. We thought would be pretty cool too. Say Anything and Saves the Day. Awesome. Yeah, so we were thinking about maybe putting that together, but other than that, we have another show. We have another show coming up in September with the same production company, which we don't know what it is yet. We're bouncing ideas off. We were looking at Steve Martin's Picasso at the Lapin Agile, which I don't know if you've heard of that one before. You would dig that. It's basically Picasso and Einstein meet at this bar in 1905, and it's a lot of quirky. It's a Steve Martin show, so it's a lot of quirky characters, and pretty awesome.
Well, there's a lot of stuff to look forward to. Great chatting with you, sir.
Yes.
Thanks for catching up.
Yes.
All right.
Have to do this again.
Absolutely. Signing off.
Now.
Boy. You can get it now on iTunes. This is Better Off Alone. Check it out.
Imagine you're a park ranger, and all of a sudden you got too many wolves. They're reading everything, making life a nightmare for the deer. You put a notice out, hunting season's coming on, watching the bodies stack. You feel a comfort knowing that you had decimated the pack. World is over, don't you know? I'm so happy I could choke. Always knew I'd be better off alone. So that's pretty much my philosophy on the whole matter. Let me see if I have this straight. You're telling me people are the deer, or was it the wolves you meant? I don't think I understand this metaphor.
Well, either way, it's shitty. You can't play God with people's lives, or even hope they die. There's far too much to live for in this world.
Like puppy dogs and candy.
Lemonade and sunny days.
I think I missed the part
to write any words to that chorus? All right.
Are you kidding me? Fuck that bullshit. I'd rather be Mad Max than Walt Disney. Never sit in a traffic jam or watch another minute of bad TV.
But what about The Simpsons?
The Simpsons have been on for like 20 years.
Didn't you watch any Breaking Bad?
Yeah, well, that's a small price to pay for laying waste to all the shit we had.
Dude, it wasn't that bad.
World is over, don't you know? I'm so happy I could choke. Always knew I'd be better off alone.
What about your family?
Well, you know what? To be honest, we were never really that close.
Didn't you have someone to care for you?
No, I didn't have anybody at all.
Didn't you have someone to hold you through the night? Tell you everything will be alright.
No, I didn't. Look, I don't know, man. Is that what you want to hear? I don't know.
Chief, it's cool. Just think about it. We'll be right over here, all right?
World is over, don't you know? I'm so happy I could choke. Always knew I'd be better off alone. There was nobody